My business is going to be called Power and Direct. I just incorporated it. Today I'm actually just going to be talking about something that's actually quite useful for any new person that's accessing the site. And this is something that I kind of initially struggled with, getting my head around it, because I originally came from a very typical customer service base in hospitality. So it was restaurant work, and it was very much yes, no, thank you, no, and that sort of thing. So it's a topic called block negatives, and this is something that's quite important when you're getting to grips with sales in your first couple of days and first couple of weeks. So I'm just going to get straight into it. So customers are always going to think, why are you there, and what you're doing. So you've got to kind of understand the psychology behind it as to why, what a customer's going to perceive of you. And this gives you a bit more confidence in when you're actually dealing with certain questions that the customer will give you. So I got this information from another really experienced owner, and he talked about the different percentages of people that you'll meet in the field. And 80% of people are actually sort of not made a final decision as to what sort of, what to think about you. 10% have. These sort of customers are not sort of that interested in speaking to you regardless. You don't spend much time with them. And 10% are actually fairly positive, so regardless of what you're there for, they're actually going to be fairly interested in speaking to you, and it's just a sort of a natural human interaction, which is fantastic. So the people that I really don't want to spend time with is that small 10% of people that are just what we call negative. I was always a firm believer in I'd rather speak to more people to find more positive people, and I would spend more time with those people that are positive and ignore the rest. But I accept that 80% of people haven't made a decision. So my psychology is that I need to introduce myself in a certain way that they can make a better informed decision of me once I've sort of started giving them my presentation and short story. Okay, so 80% of people that may say they're busy, they're not interested for any reason, and it's just a natural reaction because they haven't made their mind up. But they've got very much different body language to a lot of people that you would just assume are negative because they're not closed or anything like that. So you don't need to be presumptuous to think that these aren't buying customers, they just haven't made that decision yet. So it's really important that we get the impulse right and the presentation right. So normal people obviously don't know what you're doing, you said this 80%, so you need to get good at the basics, so that's going to be keeping it short and simple, with great smile, eye contact, enthusiasm, and using your gifts. And this will eliminate the people that sort of don't qualify once you've given those systems to that customer. And then you can start focusing on the people that are more positive once you've delivered this message to those customers. And that's who you'll spend even more time with during the course of the day in the field. The people that are okay to turn, this is where the block negative comes in, this is where people think of negatives, is that just because someone's given you an objection or what I've always thought as a question, doesn't mean that they're generally not interested. There's different types of questions, and that varies from different products and different people, essentially. So, for example, if someone gives you an objection of I'm busy at the moment, it's a real case of smile, agree, and it's re-impulse and actually closing on something else, because in every instance you're going to get a customer where you have to solve a problem. So they're giving you a problem or an excuse in some way as to why they couldn't continue the conversation further, and you need to solve that and then again finish off with the close. If the customer gives you the same objection or question, that's not necessarily going to be a buying customer, and from my own experience I wouldn't spend that much time with the same customer because they're giving you the exact same, and this is where it's important not only to remember what you're saying but also to listen to what the customer's saying to you. So if a customer gives me the exact same question or objection, I'm going to leave that customer and I'll move on to another person. If a customer gives me a different one, then obviously then I could then once more go in with a smile, agree, and re-impulse and then turn and then close. And if the customer still isn't interested in giving me another different question or objection, then I'm not going to spend more time with that customer. And the real psychology that I really had to believe with that is, and really fully understand that I'm not being pushy with someone, is that people are very different. some people will have some different scenarios, and you will come across some people that generally just have a lot of questions about what you're doing and what the product is. And depending on their answers and depending on the simple things like body language, it is where you'll take the conversation from there. And there's a few things that you can sort of really look for a customer as to whether or not you want to continue the conversation more and deal with their questions and their objections essentially. And it depends on if they're smiling at you, if you answer a question in a certain way. It depends on their body language, it depends on their tone of voice. And these are all really important for me because this is how I'm going to actually bounce off a customer and the conversation. And so I want it to be a real free-flowing conversation. My idea when I was very new is that if I'm able to spend some time with someone in the same sort of aspect, that is, if I was talking to them about the product in the hub, in that same sort of conversation, that's the people that I want to spend all of my time with during the field. And the people that don't fit into that category, no problems, have a fantastic day, and maybe we'll speak to them in the future, because that's the whole point of customer service. They can always be a future customer in the first place, and really conditioning your territory. And that's so important for us as a business because that gives us longevity, it gives us fantastic quality, and most importantly for you in the field, it protects your attitude and it keeps you more positive towards the field and the customers that you're speaking to on a day-to-day basis. And it's just a lot more fun. So there's a few different ways that you can sort of approach customers and deal with different types of questions and deal with different responses. But just remember that if a customer is giving you basic sort of negative body language, not so interested questions, and the same sort of questions as the previous one, that's not the customer you need to spend time with. Move on and go spend time with the people that they can still give you those questions, but they're always going to give you different questions because they generally are interested in what you have to say. It's just about your confidence and your delivery to be able to impulse them and get them to the right decision that's good for them. If anyone has any more questions about this, feel free to email me or give me a call at any time. That's a great thing about our business. Obviously, it's very new, and enjoy